Don't be fooled by its looks. This tiny mammal was actually a fearsome predator. And it wasn't just any ordinary creature. It was a small proto-wombat that hunted dinosaurs. But why haven't we heard about this before? What was life like back then? And how did this strange animal hunt? You're about to find out. And now back to our badger-sized hero. Scientists have named it Repenomamus, which translates as terrible mother. They gave it this name because this wombat was anything but cute. Although the animal looked like a teddy bear, it was a ferocious hunter. Back in the day, Asia was home to many species of dinosaurs. The Stegosaurus lived there, so did the same ancestor of birds that lived alongside the mighty T-Rex in North America. There were also horned dinosaurs, herbivorous ornithopods, and even early relatives of Ankylosaurus. The continent was a true Jurassic Park, but not for long. The first fossils of this strange animal were found in 2005. At first, scientists thought they had stumbled upon another species of mammal from the Cretaceous period. But when they carefully cleaned the fossil remains, they realized that this was a completely new species. As paleontologists dug deeper into the site, they discovered more fossils of this strange beast. So far, they have found at least 15 skeletons. Some of them belong to cubs. That means that this wombat lived in colonies, just like modern-day meerkats. Since the discovery, scientists have been arguing about how to classify this animal. Initially, they thought it was a marsupial. That's a group of mammals that includes kangaroos, koalas, and, yes, wombats. But the problem is that these animals evolved in isolation in Australia and New Guinea. Meanwhile, Repenomamus fossils were found in what is now China. And yet it turned out to be related to wombats. How did it get from Australia to Asia? And what did this species eat? Repenomamus had strong claws that could easily tear apart a dinosaur egg. Its teeth were sharp and serrated, perfect for tearing up flesh. And its skull had powerful muscles for crushing bones. Scientists think this animal didn't just eat eggs, it hunted adult dinosaurs too. Imagine a badger-sized monster chasing you through the forest. Even if you aren't the biggest fan of scary movies, that thought is still scary. But what were the scientists thinking when they called this animal a wombat? Well, look at its teeth. They're exactly the same as those of modern-day wombats. Wombats are herbivores. So what if this animal was a kind of ancient wombat that hunted other creatures instead of eating grass? In fact, that's exactly what the fossil record says. In 2013, scientists published an article where they described Repenomamus as a proto-wombat. They pointed out that its limbs were too short for a typical marsupial. They also noted that the animal's skull looked like that of a modern wombat, except it was much bigger. If you take a closer look at its skull, you can even see openings where its whiskers used to be. With these whiskers, Repenomamus could feel its prey even before it saw it. So scientists figured out what this animal ate, but how did it hunt? We don't know for sure. Perhaps it used its claws to dig burrows, chasing insects like a modern-day numbat. Then it probably came across dinosaur eggs and decided to try eating one. After all, birds, the closest relatives of dinosaurs, lay eggs. Today, they're one of the main dishes for many predators, including numbats. So, it's quite possible that back then, Repenomamus followed the same path. Another theory is that this wombat was nocturnal. It could have crept up on saurian nests and snatched their eggs without being noticed. Some scientists even think that our hero hunted adult dinosaurs. To do that, he needed to develop exceptional hunting skills. It's hard to believe, but this badger-sized beast really existed. And what's truly amazing is that it lived only 70 million years ago. That's relatively recent in geological terms. 70 million years ago, the climate on Earth was much warmer than it is now. Antarctica was covered in forest and Australia and South America were connected by a land bridge. It was a time of great lizards, turtles, snakes, and crocodiles. But mammals were making progress. Their ancestors were small creatures that mostly ate insects. But over time, some of them grew bigger and started hunting dinosaurs. These events took place during the Cretaceous period, which lasted from 145 to 66 million years ago. Then came the asteroid that destroyed all life on Earth, or almost all life. Only around 5% of all species survived the catastrophe. Mammals weren't particularly affected. Maybe it was because they were small and mostly nocturnal. Scientists think that the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction event helped them become the dominant species on our planet. But let's get back to our little predator. The thing is that today there aren't that many species of mammals similar to Repenomamus. The closest relative of this animal is the aforementioned numbat. It's a small proto-wombat that lives in Australia and New Guinea today. Numbats are only about 30 centimeters tall and weigh no more than 3 kilograms. They spend most of their time looking for termites. These insects make up about 95% of their diet. Numbats use long, sticky tongues to slurp termites out of their holes. Next, we need to take a trip back in time to understand how numbats evolved into fierce predators. And along the way, we'll learn about the incredible history of the continent of Australia. Around 180 million years ago, Australia separated from the supercontinent of Gondwana. It moved so far down under the sun that it practically turned into a desert. Most animals that had lived there previously died off, and new ones simply didn't appear. The only creatures that could survive in these harsh conditions were small proto-wombats. They were about the size of modern-day kangaroos and spent most of their time looking for food. Since there weren't many plants in the area, these animals went hungry most of the time. But this situation soon changed. About 100 million years ago, flowering plants appeared in Australia. These plants spread quickly and completely transformed the continent's landscape. Our ancestors adapted to these changes and began to resemble modern-day wombats. By that time, the plant mass had already spread across the entire planet. But the animals living there still hadn't noticed them. The earliest flowering plants were small and inconspicuous. Over time, they became larger and more diverse. And since they had no thorns or strong skins like the plants that had grown before them, wombats and other proto-wombats happily munched on leaves and flowers. They were doing great until dinosaurs showed up. Over time, they completely outcompeted mammals for food. For millions of years, animals resembling modern-day numbats survived by eating termite mounds. It seems that Repenomamus chose a different path. It grew teeth like a hyena and claws like a wolverine, and began hunting dinosaurs. But eventually the dinosaurs died out and the mammals began to dominate the planet. As you can see, the numbat has quite a violent history. But the funny thing is that this peaceful creature that's active during the day is still considered a threatened species. Numbats live in arid areas of Australia. When Europeans first arrived there, they brought with them feral cats and dogs that began hunting numbats. Plus, people cleared away vast tracts of forest to set up farms. All of this caused the numbat population to decline. Today, there are only around 8,000 of them left in the wild. But our story doesn't end here. Recently, scientists have learned that this unique animal isn't just a victim of feral cats. Numbats are disappearing because of climate change. It's getting hotter in Australia, and this leads to droughts and the death of plants. In turn, the termite mounds that numbats feed on die off. If you think the situation will improve, you're wrong. According to scientists, the weather will continue to deteriorate. And unless something drastic is done, this species may disappear within the next few decades. So who knows? Maybe in a few million years, the descendants of numbats will again grow sharp teeth and claws and begin hunting kangaroos. Or maybe they'll just die. Life is unpredictable, as are the stories we tell. That's why you should subscribe so you don't miss any new videos. Goodbye.